Could Kraven the Hunter save Sony's Spider-Verse or be the final nail in its coffin? Now, for those of you who are aware, Kraven the Hunter is going to be coming out in a few weeks, and a lot of people are wondering, could it be good or could it be bad? Because literally, the one thing that all the Sony Spider-Verse movies have in common is that they're all terrible, except for Venom. The Venom trilogy is probably the only good thing to come out of this Spider-Verse so far. I mean, do not get me wrong. The movies are not great. Like, they're not, like, great, like, Oscar-worthy films, but they do have a certain campiness charm to them, and that can be enjoyable. Like, it's stupid, but it's a good kind of stupid. Like the kind of stupid that like you know it's bad, but you still find some parts to enjoy. The other films, on the other hand, Morbius is just a glorified meme fest, and Madam Web was like totally uninspired and like just a bland portrayal of like a superhero origin story. Now I am going to put this as nicely as I can. The words Dakota Johnson and superhero movie should not exist in the same sentence. That doesn't seem like her area of expertise in acting. Now, the only reason why I saw those two films is to see if they were truly as bad as people said they were. And lo and behold, I was just as disappointed like leaving the movie as I was going into it. But out of all of the films that have been released in Sony's Spider-Man universe so far, Kraven the Hunter actually looks like it could have some high potential to it. Not only the fact do I like the choice of the actor playing Kraven, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who you may know more popularly from Kick-Ass, Bullet Train, or a bunch of other movies that I'm probably glancing over, but he's been in a lot of movies and he's a very good actor. And I think he actually like looks good as Kraven. Like even like the trailer where it's like he's sitting on the throne made of like bones or antlers or whatever, he actually looks pretty solid. I will admit that the fact that the director even said that they've made reshoots and that they've changed his origin because originally in the Red Band trailer we see him getting attacked by a lion. We don't see it graphically, but basically the rest of the trailer is graphic. But essentially, like a drop of blood enters his bloodstream, and then the next time we see him with like yellow eyes. So basically, they were trying to play that like he got his powers from the blood of a lion, which it sounds stupid, but in execution it could have been done. Excuse me. But judging by this reshoot and the fact that like I saw this in a TV spot, the fact that like they've changed his origin to now that he gets his powers from an mysterious herbal formula, that actually makes more sense. Like I'm not sure if that's I think that might have been his origin in the comics because my knowledge of Kraven the Hunter was fairly limited growing up because the only times I really saw him was in the Spider-Man animated series, Spectacular Spider-Man, and most recently in Spider-Man 2 in the video game. And they're like this dude was like a monster of a man. Like he was able to take on super powered beings or like enhanced beings like Spider-Man and Venom and hold his own. And I believe the game stated that he got this from like an herbal formula or like taking like these ancient remedies that were like known to give people super strength. So I think that's a good way to introduce his powers now. And the fact that this movie is also rated R has me very excited because in my opinion, Venom, Let There Be Carnage should have been rated R because, duh, Carnage is literally like a symbiote made out of blood. And the fact that, that movie was still good. I thought, like, that was a improvement over the first Venom film. And surprisingly, they did Carnage surprisingly well, even if he was only in it for one film. But I was very disappointed that it was rated R. I think maybe if Morbius had been rated R, it could have been better. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, like if you do a movie with the right rating, like sometimes a PG-13 superhero movie works, but depending on like the character, like if they're like a stone cold killer or if they're brutal in the comics, you gotta find a way to put those like methods into the screen or the adaptation. That's why, like in my opinion, a rated R Craven movie could really work. Like say, like for instance, that's why like the Punisher Netflix series is mature. Like there is blood, there's a lot of brutal scenes. You can't do a PG-13 Punisher film. It just won't work. But like judging from the trailer, like it's really brutal. Like in one part, like he literally gets this dude's head trapped in a bear trap. He like slices another dude with a knife. And if I looked at the frame correctly, I think he either bites off a dude's nose or his ear. Either way, it looks like it could be good. And like the set pieces, because we get a frame of like we get like parts of seeing Kraven in a jungle or like a forest, in a cave, in like a Arctic tundra of some kind, and even like on a mountainous terrain. Like it looks like that might be his father's fortress. Like it looks like this building that's built inside this mountain. I think that looks really cool. And that we also will get to see a part where he's in London, I think. Like it looks like he's in London and he's like running after this car barefoot in a white shirt and pants. I'm just like, wow, that actually doesn't look too bad. And a lot of people say that they probably would have preferred Russell Crowe, who portrays his father as Kraven. I think this is a good, like, Aaron Taylor Johnson is good to show us, like, Kraven, like, his origin. Because, like, if they had made, like, say a Kraven movie, like, 20 years ago, I think that Russell Crowe could have done a good job as being Kraven. But now, like, as, like, he's a bit older, I still think that works. It like Aaron Taylor Johnson works as Kraven and Russell Crowe as his father. And if you're familiar with the lore of the comics, which I learned much more about thanks to the game and also reading a bunch of comics with Kraven as an antagonist, his brother is the Chameleon, who's a character that's been more commonly associated with stories involving Spider-Man. The Chameleon is basically like a master of disguise. Like he could basically pull off any disguise, and I'm not sure how they'll pull this off in the movie, but in the comics, like he literally has like different masks, or he has like this device that can like change his face, his voice. I think he even had like some masks that made that he could disguise himself as a female. But overall, like it seems like his brother might be going against him because he literally tells him in the trailer that he's just like their father, and that could like cause a conflict between them. But in addition, like one of the other antagonists of this film, which I think could be done right if it looks as good as like how the trailer like teased it, is the Rhino. The Rhino is one of Spider-Man's most well-known villains, like more like not as well-known as like say Green Goblin or Venom or other characters of that sort, but Rhino is another recognized Spider-Man villain. And the last time we saw him in live-action format was in the 2014 Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Paul Giamatti playing him. Now, the difference between these two versions of the Rhino is that Paul Giamatti was a criminal who basically was wearing a rhino-shaped exosuit. And this Rhino, on the other hand, it looks like he has like this drug that he keeps injected in himself. Like he takes out this syringe of some kind, and his skin like turns gray and scaly or hard like rhino skin, and like he gets bigger. And in one of the first trailers, we don't see him. Like we just see like his arm start to turn gray. But I think in like one of the other trailers, we see like a few frames of him, like the Rhino itself, and he looks like he could be an interesting villain for Kraven to go up against. Now I don't know if that could be good, but I'm not entirely familiar with the director's filmography. But he even said, like on the Twitter of this movie, just give it a chance, and he even thinks that this could be a good film in Sony's Spider-Man universe. And in addition, some of the writers in this film, like I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but I looked them up. Each of these writers, either separately or together, worked on some of the scripts for the Equalizer films. All three of them. And those movies, those are good action movies. So I think with those at the helm, and if the director understands the character right, I think Kraven could potentially be a good addition to Sony's Spider-Man universe. And if not, then I have officially given up hope of this franchise. Like, there's like probably no chance any of these characters will ever interact with each other. Like I'm not sure if Sony was ever planning on building like an event where all of these characters would meet up and like fight each other or fight a common enemy. They did sort of tease that with Morbius meeting with Vulture at the end of that movie, but nothing has come of that since. So that's probably not in the future, in the foreseeable future. But I don't know. But if like this movie doesn't do well, I will be very disappointed. And after this, the only Spider-Man movies that I will be excited for are any films that focus on Miles Morales or any other characters within the Spider-Verse series. Like not Sony Spider-Verse, like just the Spider-Verse, because that's how I call it with Miles Morales. But overall, that's how I feel about Kraven the Hunter. Do you think it could be good or bad? Let me know in the comments and subscribe if you want to see more. As always, I'm Big Fella, and I'll see you next time.